Back up and running.
Need a second?
Yep.
Slowly.
Thank you for sending some stuff to my personal email, because I can't get into the village, I'm locked out. I did the same thing Spiro told me, and I get the West London website. So I'm down using the village email. Thank you. Okay,
Just a minute, Mr. Chairman, if you will.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Florence gives you the go sign. We're all good.
Right now.
Why am I glad I'm retired? I hate to wear this all day.
What?
I hate to wear this all day.
Oh, God. I go in my office and close the door and then I can take it off.
You are good to go.
All right. So we're back in open session. Same persons that were originally present remain present. Mr. Chairman, I think there was a motion to be made concerning a recommendation on the collective bargaining agreement.
Did you have that motion, Mike, or?
I would move that the collective bargaining agreement discussions include efforts to improve the percentage of contribution for health insurance, that the officers pay a greater share of contribution on the health insurance program.
You make that motion, I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Then the finance committee will
Need a roll call vote on everything.
roll call, Mike,
Aye.
George, aye.
Don, aye.
All right, 3-0, motion passed.
And that will be brought up then in Monday's meeting.
It'll be reported to the board on at Monday's meeting.
That's correct, okay. Okay, so then the next item on here is the review of the tentative FY21 budget.
Why don't we move to the recommendations Mark can leave?
Well, that motion was just made.
Oh,
Recommendation to the village board to include certain things in the union discussions, and that passed 3-0. So I was going to ask, and I think my work is done here tonight. I did send each of you an email this afternoon, just reminding you of the appropriations process and the looming deadline. So you understand time is very thin. That needs to move forward one way or the other. I guess if you have some concerns, you might want to elevate the appropriations numbers so you cover whatever eventuality might happen in the next 12 months or this fiscal year. Appropriations are a limit. They're not an authorization to spend. They're a limit on spending. And my prediction is that no matter what your budget says, it's the revenue that actually comes in. It's going to control all the spending in this village and every village and municipality in Illinois for the next 12 months, for sure. And so you may budget for a new truck, but you may never get enough money to actually make that expenditure in the coming year. Somebody's going to have to watch the revenue, the actual revenue, to govern the actual spending. And obviously, you've got a floor on that spending, like the police salaries and your staff and other things, but it could be a very challenging set of circumstances for a while before revenue levels out in this, whatever's going on in our world.
Mark, one quick question. In the IML magazine,
Yes,
page 15, under the calendar, a disaster, state of emergency, or national emergency, the impact that impacts the municipality declared within 60 days of the end of the first quarter of the municipality's fiscal year shall extend the time to pass the appropriation ordinance for the duration of the disaster or emergency and 60 days thereafter.
was that a local declaration or the governor's declaration?
It doesn't, it just says a disaster, state of emergency, or national emergency that impacts. And then they quote the Illinois compiled statutes.
That should be an Illinois law, Illinois statute, which would.
Well, it is an Illinois statute. I just don't recall that the governor's disaster proclamation is ever, and I have a compilation of those I carried around, but I left it on my desk at home when I ran down here tonight. I can double check
Just,
that.
I just saw that this afternoon when you and I were talking about the IML magazine.
Well, that may give you some additional time if you think you need it. I'll go home and try to run that down. I can send you a text in 20 or 30 minutes and let you know.
The deadline was July 31st, correct?
Deadline's July 31. What that says is if there's a disaster proclamation, but it might mean that you have to make
Yeah.
that proclamation
That's
rather
what
than the
I got.
governor.
Don, did you see Mark's email that, I mean,
No, I
from
did
July
not.
31st, you roll back and it's like, we need
Yeah,
to do
it's
something
Monday.
at the next meeting.
Yeah.
I don't have his email because I don't get the village emails. If no one's sending my home, I don't see anything, so.
No, I know what
We
this says.
talked about- We'll just look at last year's and raise it make sure we got the appropriations ready to go. You know, our budget will be less, so we take a look at the appropriation that you had, and then we'll go over it and see what we have to raise. Because we gotta have that approved by the board on the second meeting of the month, so that we
Right.
get issued.
It's going to be announced Monday,
Mhm.
the 6th, that it's available, going to be available for 10 days prior to the tournament. And that only gives us 4 days after the 6th to get that public notice out
Okay,
in time for the 20th of the month for us to vote on. So, unless Mark can tell us in the next 30 minutes.
Well, I can't, I probably can.
It doesn't say whether it's a local
Right.
declaration.
Well, just let me say this. The village president never declared a disaster. But we all are governed, at least arguably, some people object to them, but we're governed by the Governor Pritzker's proclamations. I'm not aware that in any of his proclamations, he referenced that this date should be extended. So, unless
I
you're
don't either.
prepared to
It
declare a
just says
disaster. Yeah. Anyway, I'll check on that. We may get some breathing room out of that, but it'd be good. The sooner numbers can be firmed up by this committee, the better, no matter what.
assume that's not on the table. But then we have to have everything ready
To roll Monday night.
Monday night, because then we have to publish it. When's the,
No, let me explain. Monday night, you announced that there's a tentative appropriation ordinance. By Thursday, it has to be in the newspaper that there'll be a public hearing on July 20.
okay,
It doesn't have to publish the document, it has to just publish that notice. The
okay,
document would be available here to be reviewed. People can come in and comment at your meeting on the 20th. You can then make changes if you're persuaded or influenced by any of those comments and vote on it and approve it July 20 for filing by July
Okay.
31.
Yep.
Okay? The key is to have a document in writing that's recognized by your village board for people, for public inspection. You can put it
It
on the
doesn't have to
website.
do with revenue. It's a
Yeah.
spending control.
Right.
It's
That's
a
it.
legal spending
Exactly.
control.
Although you're supposed to have an estimate of revenues as part of the process. But that estimate of
You file that at a different time.
I think so.
Yeah.
But IML has now published some new predictions as they do that at least once or twice every year, as to what the rates of local governmental revenues are going to be for the coming year. But everybody's guessing.
The estimated revenue is, I think, November, and it precedes
Yeah,
the
the
tax.
tax levy. Right. And at least property taxes shouldn't change drastically this year, so that's a good source of, kind of a solid base of revenue to the village of Sleepy Hollow.
Unfortunately, the state income tax took a hit.
All right,
That'll be next year. This year, income tax will be based off of.
I thought we put that in the budget already. All right, thank you.
good night, and you can call me if you have a question.
Okay.
All right, very good.
All right, guys, what I gave you in this packet, I had taken, the things I don't have are salaries and benefits. But Steve and I had gone through some assumptions for revenue. And I took and I did some estimates for some of the expenses, and I dropped in what the chief and Kyle had given us for their departments. So at least then we'll have a starting point. There's 4 funds in here, and I'd say let's start with the general fund, because that's got our revenue, and then some of our expenses, because some look high, they're negotiable, but at least I started with the departmental requests, and we can take it from there. But the bottom line is that we always look at our revenue first to see. And I know the auditor had sent something out with fiscal 18, but I didn't have that at the time. This I put together where I had the actual 19, his most recent forecast for 20. And then I dropped in the budget with a increase, decrease versus 20. So if you want to start from the top. Regarding the property taxes.
The property taxes, you need to use the real number.
That would be from our estimate from the tax levy.
It's not an estimate. It's published. It's $868,000.
868,000
Mm-hmm.
even?
Well, that
It's in some,
And some.
yeah,
the budget, I always try to keep it even.
that's what I was trying to find before. The actual report from, I think I might have left it at home. Oh, here it is. Here it is, final tax computation report. Published April 24th. This comes from the Kane County Clerk site. The village levy extension is $824,601.01, plus the Township Road District Fund allocated to the village, $43,935.69, for a total of $868,536.70.
All right, so 869. They didn't have any.
868.
869.
No, you're right. Round down because they always have protests and collection issues.
Even though it's over half, over 5, then I guess what we always like.
No,
Round up or down.
what I'm saying is is even though it's levied, okay, there's always collection issues. They collect like 99.5%, 99%.
Yeah, no, you're right. Should be considered when they're ready. All right, then our sales tax. Steve and I talked that, with the way things are going in the community, it will be, you know, if we had 60 grand this year, we might be 10 grand next year.
That's gotta be just for me and my Dunkin' Donuts that I buy.
Because the Elgin, well, the Elgin's the low, so that's
Elgin
gone.
is gone.
Yeah. Not home rule. What, I guess my question, why were, the thing I didn't see in the note was, why did we think it was so drastic? We're talking 80.
Well, sales tax, we had 60,000, we forecasted 40,000 last year, we took 60,000. The majority of that came from Maxway Motors. Maxway Motors ceased operation, at the end of the year.
So they're actually gone now?
They're gone. They're gone. So there's just no way we're gonna see
No.
anywhere near $40,000 in sales tax just from Dunkin' Donuts.
I agree. So they left even before the pandemic? He was
Yes,
gone? I remember you said, well, they went to Florida for the winter, but
right, well, he stayed.
How about the utility taxes?
That's the one I'm trying to find out what the heck is going on. Because we just have not, if that thing just continues to kind of creep down on us.
Well, the breakdown I've seen, when I was looking at some of the other village budgets, it's everybody's cutting their cable and that's having a huge impact. You know, people go to streaming and
Yep. And they're going down to one phone.
if you look at the utility tax pattern, it's been like that for years now. It just keeps dropping and dropping, but in the last couple of years, it's really plummeted.
Mhm.
So I'm worried that the utility tax, 170,000 might not be conservative enough, given that it's dropped 23,000 in 1 year.
think 160, 155.
Actually, people have been using more cable, utilities and all
I
that
didn't
now
say
than
that,
ever. So, you know, you gotta look at it the flip side. Nobody's gonna give up their phone. Nobody's giving up a phone or whatever. And, I don't think, at least for now, for the foreseeable future, I don't see people cutting cord with a lot of utilities, especially cable and all that, because so many people are working at home. I mean, they need the 5G just to keep operable. So, you know, 155 might be a little too low. If you say 170, I would say 160, 165 at the most, and it might hopefully break even or go a little higher.
You know, you said something I wasn't thinking about is the people working from home now.
Mhm.
All of a sudden now, I didn't really care about much of the internet or whatever before. When you start working at home, it's like, well, it's a lifesaver, you better have that.
The kids are streaming all day long, or on Netflix, or God knows what.
All right, so what do we think, 165, 160?
I'd say no less than 160, but I'd probably even say 165. Wing it.
Either way, it's not good.
It's not good.
Well, let's
So given the $23,000 drop in 1 year, I'm inclined to go to 160.
60?
Well, he's probably right.
Mm.
So we'll see what happens this year. the pandemic, but just historical, it's been going down 15 to 20 grand a year. All right, so that'll take the taxes up $1,042,000, that is the net. The intergovernment replacement tax, we cut that basically in half from last year. And state income tax, we took out 5%. That was the iron, whatever they said they estimated 5% decrease, Steve.
Don, your numbers and Steve's numbers differ. You're at 449 and and Steve is at 412 something.
Yeah, I had 412, 372. And I think that was coming off the IMLs.
Well, 472 this year, we said 5% decrease.
Well, given that fiscal year 2019 actual was 413, Don's at 449, Steve is at 412, and I'm at 400,000. I got to 400,000 because of where we were in fiscal year 2019. And I just read an American Enterprise Institute economics report released on June 24th that showed taxable April income down 11.7% nationwide. 11.7%. I assumed 11% because of the CARE Act, which changed the NOL provisions, allowing 3-year carryback. There'll be very little corporate income. And then in terms of individual income, I look at the Fed's report this past week on their unemployment estimate, and they're saying, and they're being criticized for being too optimistic, at a 9.3% unemployment rate by December. So, you know, if people aren't earning income and corporations aren't paying income taxes, there's going to be a big drop. And 400,000 may not be conservative enough. If in fiscal year 2019 we came in at 413,000, but I tend to be more conservative than most, so I can live with 400,000. What do you think, George?
So that would be a 15% drop from this year.
Big drop, there's a lot of unemployment. I mean, you have to look at your
I tried to go
employment
back.
base here in Sleepy Hollow. Do we have like a
tried
lot
to-
of corporate, do we have a lot of other?
No, it has nothing to do with how much corporate we have here. It's an allocation from the state.
Right, overall, which,
Right.
okay.
Right. I tried to go back to the old audit reports to see what our state income tax was back in the Great Recession. I thought that would be a good reference. And unfortunately, I just tossed everything. At the end of the year, I purged a lot of old records. And then, so I only went back to 2016. I went into my electronic records. Again, I purged everything there. I don't know if you can really put your hands on, you know, like the audit report for 2010. You know, and it might be a reference. I'm not suggesting we go digging in the archives now, but you know, that would be probably the most reliable indicator, is that it's gonna be as bad or worse than the Great Recession.
Okay,
Going like 400.
400? Wow. Okay. Cannabis, that's not worth anything we're talking about. The licenses. What's our franchise fees, Steve?
Those are fees we receive from companies like Nicor, ComEd,
Oh,
AT&T
that's
for
right.
using our right of ways.
All right. Yeah, we still dropped those 6% from last year. Any concerns with those numbers, guys?
No.
Okay. Permits?
Can I make one comment before we leave the license fees?
Sure.
Why don't we just strike the liquor license to 0 and give Salsa Street a break? And they're the only ones right now that have a liquor license up there. Elsie's is a gaming and liquor, but I have not seen or heard from anybody from Elsie's since the pandemic started.
It looks close, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they were closed. They were state gaming, had to close down. They had never reopened, never tried. I've never heard from them. I don't know what they're doing. Salsa Street, on the other hand, has continued. They're still up there. They're still working.
Is that what they pay, a grant?
$2,000.
They pay 2,000?
I was thinking we'd cut it in half to 1,000. Now I'm thinking, let's just give them the liquor license for this year. I know it's, what's $2,000 or even $1,000 to us at this point.
We gotta talk to the board about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd have to be, the board's decision to waive that fee. I just think it'd be, something to help them out in the long run. We'll get a little bit more from sales tax if they stay. If they lose, we lose even more in sales tax. That's just my suggestion for consideration.
How do you guys feel for 1,000? I mean, 1,000 is still 1,000 with our budget.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna get tighter and tighter.
yeah, I'm inclined to, I think cutting it in half tells them we appreciate they're doing business. But I just don't think we can.
They've still been open doing it though, right? They've
What's
been
that?
doing takeout, correct?
Yeah.
And now they've got takeout liquor. You're allowed to do that.
They have dining out too. I froze my
Yeah, no, I
butt
know
off
that.
Friday
They're,
night.
they're open now. So I would say split it in half. And that way it's a goodwill gesture on our part and says, hey, we understand.
All right, again, I got that note in there. All right, now down to permits.
That's pretty much a wash though, isn't it?
It
Except
is.
for 5%,
And
so.
I'm really surprised how building permit would be down, but boy, the remodeling that's going on in the village
Yeah,
is amazing.
And I'll tell you, one came to our door yesterday and I stopped him in his tracks because he didn't even have a mask on. And there were two guys, they parked at the cul-de-sac and they did that into the street. They went, I guess, kind of east first, then came our way. But today when I was out, I probably saw 5 cars canvassing the village for roofs and siding and stuff like that with the hail damage. Now, when they have that done, don't they do a permit?
they're
They're
supposed
supposed
to.
to?
Come by the police and get a permit, and you can ask them for one.
There were some shady ones out there. I mean, just, you saw some of them today. They were over on our side, Surrey Ridge, and they were up on Hilltop and, Hilltop and Surrey Ridge and down in Locust is where I saw them.
Please call and we'll stop. We've been having a problem with Anderson Pest Control, selling cleaning products. And so by the time we get there, by the time we get that late call, they're already gone.
Yeah.
So a timely call would definitely, we can do something about
When you're talking siding, I gotta, I'm in the process of filling out a permit for siding too, so I'll keep the village revenues up. All right. Fines and forfeitures. I know, Chief, you thought the AWT program would go up to 45. Do you think that's still viable?
it. No, a lot of these numbers I think are gonna have to probably be lessened because you're talking 3 months of inactivity. And anything that the court's been shut down for the same amount of time, so there's nothing coming from the courts. So you're talking a quarter of the year gone. So I would say, you know, you have to reduce everything probably by 25%.
And if we see another spike, which you read some of the articles today, everything says there's going to be, it's not going to be like a V, it's going to be a W. And they figure the fall it's going to hit again, we could be shut down again.
Yeah, around October.
Yeah.
Is that for every line on this, you think?
I think it says court.
Yes.
All right. 26, 3,000. Because I round everything to the hundreds as much as possible. Well, that takes back down to 83,000. So now we've lost another 18,000 to this year.
Another problem also is the courts have now been empowered with the new law. Judges can assign any fine they want. They don't even have to rely upon what the fine structure is. They go all the way to zero, and in many cases they are. So it can be $25, can be zero. So the kickback from the courts that every village or town normally enjoys is not there. And it's killing what you return you normally expect from the courts.
All right. Interest income, Mike, you think that's a little high? Took that down 60%?
Well, if you just look at the rates being paid, Illinois Funds is not gonna hang in there at 0.319%. That's gonna drop. You know what the school district did on an interest assumption? Their fiscal year begins July 1st. They assumed a 90% drop in the interest rates for their budget. Yeah. 90%. The library's got like 2.7 million or something like that invested right now. And as things are rolling over, you're looking at it. Because you want to be conservative, you don't want to get caught with any problem. You know, and it's like 5, 10, 15 basis points, that's it. Well, just look at what the banks are paying right now. Money market, 5 basis points.
What do you think? We should take it down to 5? 80%, 81%. Yeah. Because obviously with less revenue, we may be cutting into our cash.
How about 6,500, 500 a month? The other thing is, you've lost 300,000. The cash and investment report has dropped $300,000 of cash the village has burned through in the last 12 months.
Yeah, it's probably only gonna get worse. All right, then the miscellaneous.
I don't know what's in there.
I don't know what's in the, I don't know what expense reimbursements are,
Yeah,
but I think we probably, if we're at 33 this year, probably leave it at $3,000. Don't wanna raise it. And I really don't know what's in the miscellaneous, Steve, you
I'm trying to remember what was the miscellaneous myself.
make a note, don't wanna make a note,
Uh,
see if Matt can look at that. But based on, you're talking a 40%, probably you take it down to 10, and just say 50% decrease, whatever it is.
If we find out it's viable, otherwise, yeah.
So the bottom line, what I have right here now, the total fund receipts, 1,726,000. So you're talking 198,000 decrease from last year. So I'm surprised it's only 10% decrease. Thank goodness for property taxes. Anything more on the revenue than Mike or
No?
George, you okay?
Yep.
All right. Now, you guys can't see, but like the personnel, I've got highlighted in yellow because that's what we need. I need to get something from. That's what we need to get, Steve, too, is that, well, not only for the officers, we gotta get us, there used to be a salary schedule that Ellen and even Henry had. List of the employees, the data hire.
yeah, I got one from them this afternoon. It's not what, I don't know where Henry or Ellen had that. But,
I think we might have to ask Spiro if I can have access to the village computer so I can go through the Excel files.
ask Matt tomorrow. Are you talking about from home?
No, I can come in here. Home would be nice, but I mean, coming in from here for starters. Because we gotta go through, see what they have. They've had files that we've used a couple, we're gonna get to the tax levy in 6 months and we're gonna need to see where that file is in there. And I'm not sure, Matt, I'm sure Matt's doing okay, but he doesn't know the history of what we're looking at in our meetings.
Oh, I try and find
Well, that, we know that we can't do anything about it.
it. Okay, there is one other thing though before we move on. So I need to let you guys know about. Is after today, the Kane County Coronavirus Relief Fund Task Force released its proposed recommendation to the Kane County Board. for distribution of part of the $150 billion coronavirus relief fund. Their proposal is to take that $92.9 million and distribute it according to a per capita calculation of $78.52 per person, which would bring Sleepy Hollow, which they're counting as 3,266 people, $256,451.31.
How many people did you say?
They're using the 2019 census estimate.
Okay,
It's the same thing that's used for other calculations.
Okay, we typically use 3,303 from the
Well, this is
2010.
different. Okay.
So this is different by 47 people.
Okay. And the amount was 78 what?
$78.52 per person.
And that's the
This is the recommended,
executive task force.
this is the coronavirus task force, which disbanded today after presenting this proposal, which will go
Think
to
it's
the
gonna
county
fly?
board. I don't know, compared to what we were 2 weeks ago, Metro West was looking for $51.49.
Yeah.
We'd have been happy with $51 from these people. Now today, they
Yeah.
come out and offer $78.
That task force is, I'm going strictly from memory here.
It's
It's a Lazen pick group,
right, and
okay?
from my understanding, it
That
does
doesn't
not
include,
municipalities.
and it also doesn't include
uh, Fire district.
liberal Democrats with social programs. Okay, the county, there's gonna be county board members. Remember, the county board is split equal. There's gonna be county board members that are gonna want to have more funds, like the health department, and a far greater share.
I don't, this is, but,
Some were arguing that nothing should go to the municipality.
well, most of the county board members aren't on that page.
Yeah, yeah.
As I
So,
said, there's movement afoot to get some of that distributed. As I said, that's $27 more than per person than we as the Metro West have been.
that would be
looking for.
great, but I don't think we can count on it.
No, I don't know either, but I mean, just, it's out there, there's discussions about it.
what was the total? You said 278,000?
256,000 and change
No,
is what the village would get.
it'll just be in our back pocket.
So, yeah, that's just something, to think about maybe. Putting the Christmas wish list.
Oh. What you do is you use any funds that come. The rule of thumb is non-recurring revenue should go to non-recurring expenses. That's when you look at your capital program and say, hey, we can do some things that we were thinking of putting off, or not thinking, we had to put off because we didn't have the funds for it. So if the funds come through, then look at the capital program.
All right. Well, Steve, thanks for that update. That's still leaves us 198,000 short decrease.
I don't,
Okay. Since we don't have any of the salary stuff, maybe you want to go through just take a look at some of the contractual items that I've gone through. And the expenses that the chief and Kyle, since they've been sitting here tonight, let's just go
Well,
through.
I have one question for the chief.
Mhm.
On contractual services. Budgeted is 99,000 for intergovernmental, I think that's Quadcom, right? 99,000 Quadcom?
Yes, yeah, we were paying on average around a little over 8,200 a month currently. And I think they're gonna have an increase.
Typically, they have an increase,
Right.
but I bring it up because it's spread amongst the communities being served based on quality.
Right.
Okay. The mall's been shut down. I think the unintended consequences of it is going to be that we're going to end up getting a larger share because, but I couldn't begin to guess how much.
You're saying contributing more to that.
That we're going to end up getting a bigger bump because West Dundee's calls will be dropping. Okay. Carpentersville's calls for part of the mall would be dropping. East Dundee for all the closed commercial businesses will be dropping.
Understood. But I think through the intergovernmental agreement that's in place, it's still going to be based on call volume. And you're
Yeah.
right, and they're going to struggle to be viable based on everything that's dropping. Absolutely correct. But they're going to have to give us some notice of that increase and give us obviously enough time to make some sort of budget amendment based on those.
I thought maybe you had it already. I don't know.
No, they would have said, they have not brought up anything like that at all. So I think they're just moving forward with those numbers.
What are they on a calendar year basis or?
They were able to get us numbers very early in the year, and they understood who was on a calendar year and who was on a fiscal year. Because then the other issue, then obviously the StarCom project, that's
Oh, yeah.
which they kind of pushed down the road, which hopefully will not affect us until the next fiscal year. Mayor, is that also how you're understanding it?
That's what I'm understanding.
Okay.
But, they will, that agreement was authorized this spring. And it is to take effect sometime in October, November, with the billing to be 6 to 7 months after. Which, with the pandemic, it's probably gonna push it to December, January, before they start the project. And add another 6, 7 months to the billing is gonna put us well into June, July next year.
Because I understood some people were going, I thought Starcom was rolling.
Starcom's rolled out across the
Yeah.
state, yeah. We haven't joined onto it yet.
Okay, but I think it was, I don't know if it was Rutland Dundee Fire or if it was West Dundee.
They're all the
One
same.
of them, I remember reading the minutes saying that they were going live, I thought September.
It's entirely possible in spots, and the infrastructure is there, but we still need to get everything up to snuff. We're still gonna do all this testing in all the different spots to make sure there's no down spots. But as far as the towers, they had the second tower, and they've been doing all that beta testing. But we're still looking at that timeline, probably be pushed back because of the pandemic, as the mayor said.
Okay. All right. That helps. So we stick with the 99,000.
So far, yes.
99, I thought it was 97.
No, I'm looking at the budget for,
I crept up.
I got 97.
Hey, 97.3.
Yeah, 97, 26 again. Did you get 99?
who knows from the sea of
Single numbers.
files that kept coming my way.
Well, I'm not gonna be as conservative as you, I'll leave it at 97.3. I guess the only question I had under police, you had, what is this computer management services? You gave me a budget of 20 grand.
That's actually gonna be shared throughout the village.
It's in the Bureau.
Right. That's going up, $8,000 based on the other things they have to add to the system. Going to Microsoft 360 was one of the add-ons, and a couple other things that's gonna get factored in. And just the cost of services is spiraling, as well as the amount of man hours that they're attaching to servicing our infrastructure.
But don't we split this one, this is split between the police and admin.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So instead of 20,000, it should be 10,100.
Okay, well, now let's talk about this then, because in admin, I have 3550. Because now that's just, that one there, I just, came up with based on, I didn't have any,
That could be on the side,
but then, didn't you have something in yours too, Kyle?
Neptune. For Neptune software. It should-
Oh,
that
so
should be
that's
under water.
not part of,
No, that's under water.
I know, but it's not the same stuff.
No.
Okay,
It's a different maintenance.
so we're saying that the 20.
We've got basically 3 computer maintenance. We've got the IT agreement with West Dundee
Mhm.
that is shared between the police and admin.
Okay, so that's what
Okay.
this is, okay.
That's what the big one is. Ferguson is that Ferguson, the water?
I forget, I don't know how it shows up. It's either Ferguson or Neptune, either one.
I got an invoice from Ferguson.
Okay, it could be it.
So that would be strictly water. Then we've got MSI or Harris, which is once again split. Is that all that?
I think it's Abbott.
That's all that.
Okay, MSI is the
MSI
design
is
software, yeah, that's all. Okay. So what we're saying then is I need to take 10 grand out of the police and put it in admin.
Right.
The 99 came from the schedule you sent me yesterday, Don.
I can't trust me. Oh, you know what it was though, because then I went through the chiefs. I actually went through the other day and made sure I tied out what the chief and Kyle gave me for starters. Okay, so I'll make that. We'll make that adjustment here. I'll just make a note that we gotta take that out. All right, that's still, okay, and that puts the contractual police services up 8.8% over last year. And just looking at some of this, the training, we doubled it from 2 grand to 2,200 to 5 grand.
And there is some proposed legislation, and we don't know where this is gonna go. This is going to be a crapshoot for training. There is some pie in the sky legislation being proposed as far as, we already have restorative justice and a lot of the other things that we're gonna have to come in compliance with, and they're probably gonna add in more, which are gonna be unfunded mandates from the state. So like I said, it is a complete unknown, but there are some things that are being proposed and that we're all kind of paying attention to as far as the different county chiefs associations. And it could be costly as well, but we're not there.
And one other question, I noticed the equipment maintenance went from 360 and 350 rather in 2019 to 2148 now, and we want to raise it to 4,700. What is in that number? And I apologize, your number might be 469, whatever. I tried to round everything to the hundreds just to make it look nicer.
Which item are you looking at? I'm sorry, I'm trying to.
He's looking at
What's the account number?
4120,
4120.
maintenance equipment, just below vehicles.
It's the second line under your,
Correct.
when I saw it double, it caught my eye.
Well, it had been budgeted at 4,700, it was coming in at 2,100.
Yeah, when I looked at, the actual year before,
Yeah,
too.
351.
And we have a limited amount of maintenance that goes on inside here that we try and do as well. Jeff Beck does a great job in keeping some of our electrical going on some of the cars. And we've had some things happen, but we've been very lucky. And I think part of it was with Chief Lenane going with a 6-year warranty. The only problem on the 2020 Ford Explorer we currently have, they will not give us an extended warranty anywhere near that, which tells us that they don't have confidence in that vehicle. So we're going to have to see what little they'll give us. I still don't have an exact number. We're trying to work through Dundee Ford and trying to come up with some sort of maintenance agreement or a warranty agreement for the 2020. But they still can't give me numbers, so.
Oh, will it kill you if I take it down to that 2,500 right now?
No, if things change, then you'll hear from me.
How do you feel about that, guys?
I think the focus has to be on salaries and not line by line, $1,000 here, $1,000 there.
All right,
on
Yeah,
expenses.
I agree.
all right, so then you want to just basically
So nickel and dime.
table this for now?
May have to come back and
Well, I
do
think
something.
Well,
I think our village president has done a fair amount of work in coming up with some of these numbers, and we just should go with them and get at the crux of the problem. Other than the collective bargaining agreement with the police, it's the cost to run this village is the cost of the personnel providing the services. That's what we need to get to.
Okay,
typically, we don't do anything with the salaries for non-union until we resolve the salaries with union.
well, I thought though the salaries were non-union is the cost of what we usually do with the tax levy.
What's that?
The percentage increase we usually use was the CPI, the tax levy.
Right, but historically, whatever we do with the union, we've done with the non-union. And since we don't have a contract with the union yet, we
Well, yeah, we
don't do anything with the non-union.
Well, I'm saying is we can't finalize the union, but I think if we have what the salaries are and we know when the review date is, we can factor in the tax levy percentage and factor in an annual salary for the budget.
You can finalize your budget,
Then we
making
can finalize it.
estimates,
Yeah,
and
we got
you
to.
know, if it ends up costing more or less, then you got a favorable or unfavorable variance.
Well, my concern is if you put an estimate down here, now you're giving the union ammunition as to where we are.
So we just continue salaries as is for budget purposes.
For now,
The difference is you're gonna have to bump it up for the appropriation, so you don't have a problem with the legal in it.
Yeah, I think we take a look at last year's appropriation. I would see where it was, and I think we got to bump it because we
I mean-
don't want to mess with it later.
You're into July for a budget that started May 1st. You know, and what bothers me is the budget hasn't been a very effective control in the first place. The police budget this year, for the fiscal year that just ended, was $1,062,000, $1,063,000. And actual was $1,102,000 based on the preliminary unaudited April financial statements. So that's 39,100 over budget. And it's people.
Mhm.
I took a look at the April financials just to see and what our April fund balance was for the general fund, to make sure that we didn't have a policy compliance issue. Because and when I started looking at the April financials, I realized that unless the entry wasn't made, Steve, by Suzanne.
Matt,
Yeah. I didn't go back and look. Did the board authorize a transfer from the general fund to the capital fund? Because the capital fund is negative right now. And, you know, I think you may have passed the date, but I think you can have a board resolution to transfer funds from after the fiscal year end. But I'm not sure legally if it can help far past the year end. I thought it was 60 days. But I figured that there should have been $230,000 at least. We had budgeted $217,000 some dollars, and something should be transferred because you got a fund with a negative balance, which is the capital improvement fund. In theory, you have no money to buy $1,000 widget.
Well, there should be 135 in there for an international truck that is ordered, but we haven't received.
No, you're talking about budget.
That should still be sitting in the capital.
The fiscal year ended April 30th.
Right.
Okay. So what I'm saying is there's no money in the capital fund left. Even there's no money for a truck. It's negative. Just look at the financial statements for April. Okay.
Did we ever wasn't there a problem with the water that things were charged to the wrong place? That Matt was supposed to look at, because Henry screwed up
we questioned what Henry was, yeah.
between the five, I thought it was between the 5-year cap and water. That
I
charge
think-
went to the wrong.
If you look at the financials, my guess is that other than the 2 police vehicles, which I think was about 45,000, the other biggie is the water meters
Yeah, water.
that appear to be charged against the capital fund.
Should be coming out of the, some of it should be coming out of the DID.
I don't think.
But there's nothing in DI.
There's nothing, it was supposed to go against, I thought we had it against the water.
What
We didn't charge it the right way.
What we discussed before was the way it was supposed to happen was like the water system improvements of a few years ago. First of all, there was a 100% variance because you went with all the water meters in 1 year as opposed to 2 years. We had budgeted for 2 years. Okay. So, but what was supposed to happen is an internal loan at prevailing rates. It's just like we did with water. Okay. Along with related interest and a payback plan. None of that stuff is happening as far as I know. And this is the kind of stuff that the auditors will ding you on.
Check the minutes with the board when that whole thing was.
Yeah, that's what we talked about in the budget.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Just like we did though, when we
Just
get
like
that
we did when we
$8 or whatever on the water bill, we took the loan out.
Yeah.
Fixed that,
Right,
and it was.
That was the way it
Yes,
was.
there's two pieces with water. One was an external loan for 700,000, and then there was an internal loan from, I think it was from sewer.
Yeah.
So sewer realizes some income, interest income on the loan arrangement to help fund the water improvements. In this case, I think because it's a proprietary fund versus a governmental fund, there has to be a formal loan agreement between the general fund, I believe, is where the money's coming from, and the water fund. So water has got to pay
The loan plus
interest expense in it for the general fund financing the transaction. It's $300-some thousand. Do you remember?
It's like 330 something.
I think it was 352 if I'm remembering.
Okay. All right, then. Since we still have work to do with the salaries, I'd say we should probably table this for now. We've put some time in it, had some good discussion here. And one thing I want to do on here too, I didn't drop the fund balances in yet. I'm going to do the beginning and have it go forward so we can see.
The other big thing we didn't talk about other than water and sewer, and that's pretty cosmetic, I think, really. It looks like we're covering your costs. It'll show negative, but you got to factor in the depreciation factor.
I saw that.
But other than water and sewer is the capital improvement fund.
There.
And that right now, given economic conditions, there should be a freeze on all capital expenditures until it becomes clear about the viability of being able to pay for it.
And that's one thing I want Matt to.
Cal, just to clarify, if you got a truck on order, I'm not suggesting you cancel the order.
I can't, I mean, they're building it, but.
Yeah.
Um,
But any purchase commitment shouldn't go forward
sure,
of a
sure.
capital expenditure nature until,
Under, I agree with that. Under Parks and Rec, there should be 12 grand sitting in there. Because we had budgeted for, a couple of years ago, when we bought the new John Deere for 24,000, and I sold the old one for 12. So there shouldn't be zero, I mean, if you're showing zero, there's something,
no, it's negative.
you're negative, there's something that's been done that's not right.
Well, I think that's where the funding was taken from capital for the water meters. Is that what you thought was earlier?
Well, yeah, that's because that was.
That's what's driving.
He couldn't
That
understand,
would be,
he couldn't understand the water thing versus the capital, and it all got charged to one spot. And that's what I thought the auditors were gonna be taking a look at.
I thought so too, that and the MFT fund. The other one was,
But the more that this can get cleaned up with Matt, the cheaper it'll be. Otherwise, you're on a fixed fee basis with the auditors, but they'll find a way to dig you.
So we'll need to talk. I think somehow I gotta get access to that, Steve. I've never wanted to, but I think we gotta discuss that, so I could spend some time looking at it. At least understanding what's going on and track some of the analysis. All right, then I would say probably should stop for now. Steve and I will go over for the appropriations. And when I get the salary information, I can put the schedule together, send it out to you guys, and then we can schedule one more meeting.
Yeah,
Well, we're gonna need an appropriation idea for Monday night.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's why when you said you had the schedule, we can look at it and come up a number. Well, we gotta just tell them we have it Monday night, that we have to have the document ready 4 days after.
Right.
Yeah. So once we have the number with all the other pieces, we'll do the document. Anyway. Sure, we'll help next year. And if there's no, we wanna be higher, we've never used it, so we used to try to keep it like 10% higher, we may have to go higher this time, just so we don't have to mess around with it.
just a couple points on the capital expenditure, so you know where you're at. I found the April financials for this. The balance sheet for the 5-year capital improvement plan currently has a negative balance of $9,944.59. Okay. It ran a deficit for the year of $453,330. And the drivers of it, under village property, other improvement, $104,912. I'm guessing that's soils, Kyle?
That some of that was swell and some of that was roads, I believe.
And then under streets and highways, other improvements, $302,069.
That doesn't seem right, even with the bullfrog culvert on there, because we had, I sat down with Jeff Steele and that seems pretty high. I thought we were only around 200.
Yeah.
For roads.
Well, I mean, that's,
Something screwed up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So those two things are total 406,000, then you got the 45,000 for the 2 squads. And then there's 10,000 for equipment for village property. 10,662.
For equipment for village property. What would that be?
I don't know.
See, that's the analysis Steve, that we're missing from, that we need to look what's going in here, because it could be charged the wrong spot too. And
Next on the agenda.
well, the review and the recommendation for the proposed appropriation ordinance. We work something up. Does the finance committee have to meet with it? Or can we send it out just to let them see, or we don't?
Technically, we should not be doing any review or communication electronically
Okay,
between you. My suggestion would be, instead of adjourning tonight, you convene to reconvene at a future date.
well, we'd have to do it like Tuesday or Wednesday next
Right.
week, after our board meeting, just to go over and show what we're gonna do.
Right.
Okay, you guys have, I don't think it would have to take too long for this either next week. You guys available Tuesday or Wednesday? Because I'll make myself available.
That was the beauty of Zoom meetings. I didn't have to leave my spare bedroom. This is the first physical meeting I've been at.
No, hold on here.
Yeah, I've been going to school board meetings and township meetings and park district meetings and library meetings and fire district meetings. And never left my house.
I'm good Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, Mark says it appears that this provision may allow an extension of the time if the board of the committee wants to postpone the appropriation. Disaster has been declared by the governor that affects all counties in the state. Whether it's broad enough to fit under the new enactment is uncertain, but it's a possibility. I'd say let's not worry about it. Let's,
I wouldn't fiddle with it. I would just bump it up, you know. Just
I was gonna say, I'll take last
Take,
year's.
take
and do
5%
20%.
by line item and just make sure when you look at the line items that when you see what the actual run rates are, that you're not putting yourself.
I was gonna put like 10 or 15% over last year.
Well, keep in mind, the appropriation is already way over the actual expenditures.
So what if we're too high? What difference does it make?
Well, we don't want to be ridiculous.
There is a public hearing. I have gone to public hearings
And
with
people will look at it and
appropriations.
say, hey, you got it down here, that's what you got.
Yep,
Okay. Does anybody ever come to our meetings? You never know.
One guy did it by mistake.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you never know. I was gonna say, I've been here every July and it's like we sit and drink coffee. Okay. All right, I'll try to be concerned. So do we have to get together next week? Or can you and I just do this?
It's up to Mike and George if they want
Because we're not talking about recommending any spending to the village, it's just filling out the information so we can meet our legal requirement.
to. All right, George, you want to see it?
I'm good either way, no,
yeah,
I'm
right.
good.
On an appropriation.
Yeah,
That's, okay, that's what I was thinking, but I wanted to.
For 4 years in a row, I had voted against the appropriation for the library district as a trustee, and I got overruled every time anyways. I kept saying, well, you got too much cushion in there.
All right,
Okay.
then
You and I have,
you've got the ones, you said send it to me. Did you just say you found the form or what it looks
I
like?
sent, appropriation, I sent that,
To my new email, my Xenos? Let me make it,
I sent this a couple of weeks ago.
okay. All right. All right,
do we have something else to pass down to, or something else?
There's 3 other things on the agenda.
17th. I can send it to you.
what's this, why do we have proposed collective bar, I thought we already covered these.
We did.
Yeah, we did. We're on 5F.
NICOR, what's the NICOR we?
Okay, NICOR, do you want to get gas or you want to get cash?
Leave it as is.
Leave it as is.
Yeah,
Correct.
This is one of those franchise agreement things. This is what we get as part of the franchise. We've been getting free gas. They said we haven't used all of the amount of gas that we have been allotted. And they've given us an option of taking cash and then paying them for the gas. And
It's the simplest way, is to leave it the way it is.
okay,
You get,
I just,
you get a check and it gets posted to the wrong account and,
and then you get a bill and you end up, having to pay the bill. and-
yep,
Okay,
that's,
as long as somebody's paying attention to it and making sure we're getting the credit.
well, as long as it's warm and cool, I'm happy.
All right, so we're leaving it as is.
Yep.
5G e-pay credit card payment?
Yes. ePay, the office staff, this is through the Illinois Treasurer's Office. They would like the ability to accept credit cards for payments for water, sewer, vehicle stickers, pet stuff.
Of course, they make money on it.
Who's that?
State
The
charges.
state makes money.
I know, but I'm saying our staff would.
Can we reduce the staff?
We're down to 2 part-timers as it is, Mike, and if I have one more person walk,
Yeah.
I'm moving down, Jim. Yeah. With the pandemic, there's also the concern of cash. People handling cash and doing cash. With the credit card, they don't have to write a check, they can do it online, they can,
Wasn't there,
The fee goes to the person paid.
okay, so
It's,
it's not affected, the fee doesn't come out of our
The
account.
fee doesn't come out of ours.
But it says the fee is split on the back end, meaning we get half.
I don't know what they mean by splitting the fee on the back end.
Based on what you're saying, if it's the back end, yes, that would be a split.
The-
You'd get 50/50.
Well, it says split, I don't know. if
But
it's
then they
50/50.
say if you pass on the fee, they won't charge you for the machine.
I mean, why wouldn't you do a credit card today? I mean, nobody wants to do cash anymore.
Yeah, but wait a minute. How many people are gonna actually come to the village hall and hand over a credit card?
Well,
They don't have to.
they don't have
do it
to,
on
they
their
can do this
website.
online.
Do it all online
All
or
online.
all in or however.
And if you do want to come in, you can come in with a credit card. We would have the machine.
I mean, how many people use checks today?
Not many.
Well, I mean,
Well, actually, I don't even use checks. I still use cash.
With this one, with the water bills, I'm not familiar with this system, but like in West Dundee, for me, it's an automatic debit out of my bank account for my water bill. Would this be the same?
If, I don't know,
usually if it comes out of your bank account, if it's a direct,
This
Yeah,
says
that's
credit card. not
yeah, if
debit.
it's bank account, there's no charge.
Yeah.
There are no fees with a direct, with,
But on this one, it is 75 cents.
I think I do pay.
but with a card
I think I do pay.
or through the bank.
To West Dundee for the.
No, an e-check service.
I think they
Even
usually.
even an e-check service is gonna charge 75 cents. Okay, I've been through this 3 times this year. Okay, I went through it with the library, with the license plate renewals. I went through it with the finance committee of the school district. This big bucks to the school district. Okay, the school district, this one, if you go back in history, the first time we heard about this, Chief Linane was getting a proposal back in June of 2017, okay, for the court money information system.
Yeah, don't
We
be
still do
sad.
that.
Yeah,
We do that.
so, so they're gonna, so they also offered to do it for utility bill. But we said, well, let's try it out, right? As far as I know, it's working, right?
You'd have to ask the staff on the road side, or you're saying,
Okay. This is for like posting bonds,
Court money,
court money.
when you,
I will ask Becky how smooth it is.
Okay. So anyway, and the bonds were a 7% fee and
$3.50 or something.
3% for other services. So we said, well, let's make sure it's working right first before, because when you go to the utility billing, it covers a bigger amount.
Right.
Well, but this is cheaper. This latest proposal is 2.3% versus
Right.
3%. So from that point of view,
Why not do it? As long as the other one's been working, why?
so I was wondering if we had a source of income, because I figured, okay,
Not really.
average water bill, $52 a month, 2.3% fee is $1.20. I figure if you're billing 1,000 residents, assume half of them are gonna go with a credit card. That works out to $600 a month or $7,200 a year. And then it comes out to, if it's an equal split, 50-50, then we'd have revenue of $3,600.
You just gotta make sure that it's an equal split or whatever, because if we get nothing out of it, the heck with it. I mean, I know it's easier and all that, but if we're not gonna benefit from it, the village, then forget it.
What's amazing is some people just, when they hear these proposals, they think, well, that's it. Okay, 2.3% you're gonna charge. Most people don't realize everything's negotiable.
Yeah.
The library board was approached with a similar fee rate for license plate renewals. Okay. License plate renewals.
The library?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
I screamed about giving up late fees for book returns, which are, okay. Well, they came up with an alternative source of revenue, license plate renewals. We're the first library in the state of Illinois to go with license plate renewals. Okay, and until the pandemic hit, it turned out to be fairly popular.
What do you mean, the library and license plate renewal?
That's what I was.
License plate
You're
renewal,
working for the
you can
DMV.
go, because people.
Oh, you can go to the library and get your license plate renewed?
Yes, they'll get, and they got all the equipment and the little sticker comes out that you can put.
Do do it online, you get it in 3 days.
Exactly. I argue that, but it's amazing the number of people that jumped on this. So when push came to shove, the director said, well, they didn't want, it was going to be a fixed fee the library was going to pay, and then and this transactional cost was going to be absorbed by the library. And she negotiated the rate down from 2.3% down to a flat rate of 76.75 cents a transaction on a $150 transaction. So the effective rate is 0.51%. So when I went to the school board finance committee meeting, they have a service called the payment service with the library license plate processing is TSYS system. You got all these different payment systems. Everybody's out to make a buck. Okay. I would love to see these companies' relations in terms of donating to political parties. District 300 uses Pushcoin, a payment processor for student fees. They were paying 2.90%. So I told them, I said, why don't you talk to Lauren at the library? Maybe you can negotiate that rate down too. And the school board, us taxpayers, were absorbing all the transactional costs. You know how much it added up to? $95,000.
Okay, so with the e-pay credit card,
So now it's passing through.
what do we have to ask, we have to contact the service, or if we sign up for that? I don't,
No, it's a state. It's through the-
I know, but it says we wanna do this.
Do we want to recommend this to the board?
Yeah, I don't see why not now.
I don't have any strong feelings one way or the other.
I would say.
Drop off at the box and you save $14, mail it, you save $8.
But that's
People
what I'm
that
saying.
don't want to do that,
If the people
Let
don't
them
wanna
pay.
do it, then they can pay.
They don't do it, but I mean, just make sure there's something in it for the village, you get a cut.
Yeah.
If it isn't, then no, it's
Okay.
useless.
yeah, I'd agree with that.
All right.
So we'll make that recommendation, then we have to call them in, right? Okay. Okay, then the last item is the service that Lauterbach Orton is offering us until we do something with our finance director position.
Well, they're offering now to move over to their financial service department for someone who has experience as a financial director or village treasurer.
Okay, what was the dollar, the $63 an hour, was that it?
I believe they have a salary of $82,000 a year.
I thought they gave us, I didn't bring the letter, I thought they gave us a dollar amount per hour in her letter to you.
$6,583 a month, or $78,996 for just shy of
Oh,
a
so
year.
I read that wrong.
For 975 hours, or $81.02 an hour. Okay, now, what I don't know,
15 hours a week.
the first one I know that got into this was Carpentersville. This is a letter from the Daily Herald, July 11th, 2018. Carpentersville replacing finance director role with external firm. Now, the only difference with Carpentersville is Lauterbach isn't their auditors. They have a different auditor. I think it might have been Baker Tilly. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it's not Lauterbach. So,
Well, this is.
they can claim it's it's financial services that are separate from audit. And, like the lawyers will tell you with the Chinese wall.
And the letter said there's 30-day termination on either side, right?
But at this point now, though, getting down to the facts with it, though, I mean, we didn't have a choice. I mean, you couldn't get anybody, or we can't get anybody really to fill the position on a full-time basis from what we said last time, or at the salary we were looking at. So if this is a viable option, it's 15 hours a week, and they're capable of doing the work within that time frame. If they can they do majority of it, 50% of it, or what?
Well, I'm of the opinion we should accept it now, but I still think we need to look for somebody. I don't think the 15 hours a week,
Well, I guess it's something, if we got 30-day termination, right,
but that,
you know,
that's
it's
what,
something, go with it, and let's see, and if it works out, it's feasible, it's a no-brainer.
As far as I know, Carpentersville still has a relationship based on Lauterbach's letter, you know, implied. They don't use the words Carpentersville, but Carpentersville agreed for $117,000 annually. This was back in 2018, okay? And this was the rationale in an article that it costs $175,000. It was costing Carpentersville to have a finance director full-time. It's a much bigger operation than we are, okay? But full-time with benefits, and the big kicker with them is IMRF, because that's like
oh, yeah.
11% more or something like that, okay? So when you take payroll taxes and IMRF, okay, so it was costing Carpentersville $84.13 an hour. But they got 2,080 hours out of them, George. This is I think the point you were making. And the village manager in Carpentersville said, Lauterbach is more productive, okay? They can do it in half the time, 1,040 hours a week, or 1,040 hours a year was the commitment for 117,000. So they were paying $112.50 per productive hour because Lauterbach is more efficient and skilled, and you know, the question is there reduced services or are you really gaining? And this is a step towards outsourcing, and I think we ought to give it a try.
You don't know, you'll try. I'd say go with it.
Because it's less expensive than having but somebody internally.
So,
$100 an hour?
$81 an hour.
If he's here 15 hours a week?
There's no other benefits.
If you work through it, Kyle, you have to factor in vacations
Vacation,
sick
payroll
day,
tax.
and personal days and payroll taxes and 457 contribution. When you factor all that in, it adds up.
But what you'll find out too is what's the difference in productivity, what's the difference in, you know,
Exactly.
overall, you know, accuracy and stuff like that. And you're right, there's no benefit rate. Whoever you had here might have been $32 an hour, but when you factor in the benefit rate, that could have been 32, could have been $49 an hour, $46 an hour, something like that, when you look at the benefit rate.
What is it?
No.
What does their services entail? Just budget oriented only? Because with the finance director, they're doing far more than just the budget.
Well,
Yeah.
that's part of the difference is that Ellen and Henry were doing office management and all the other stuff too. And some of that's being lost.
For Carpentersville, they describe the role as responsible for capital planning process, financial forecast and utility billing, audit preparation, payroll management, tax levy preparation, maintaining financial statements, and other administrative work. But the finance director reported directly to the village manager. We don't have a village manager, okay? We have a pseudo village manager. And And in addition to reporting directly to the village manager, they still have a finance manager at Carpentersville in addition to the finance director.
So do we have a motion to approve this agreement?
Well, you have a recommendation to the board to enter the agreement. So if you guys say, give it a shot, we'll have a 30-day window to pull the plug on it.
Okay, Mike,
Move to approve to recommend approval of the engagement letter by the board.
I'm sorry, I was asking for your vote, yes or? no?
Yes,
George?
Yes,
Okay, Don says yes too, so now we're good. All right,
Thank you, gentlemen.
hey, we just need one more motion, Mike.
move to,
Do you want to
Adjourn.
move to?
or
adjourn, or do you
move
want
to,
Oh, no,
Convene until another date.
what do you call it?
no, but I thought he said,
Adjourn.
he said we don't have, they don't have to see that.
No, but I'm talking about the rest of the budget. Do you want to set a date for the rest of the budget? Or do you want,
I'd say let's wait to see how quick I get that from Matt. But we can set a date, but if Matt,
Don, you
okay,
gotta get a budget in
yeah,
place.
okay, well, let's set a date then.
let's just-
No, you've got to put a budget together.
No, I gotta resign. Because I'm not paid for this. I got a paid job that I gotta work at, not suck around over here after we hired Henry that fucked me up for years. Put that on record. That's exactly how I feel about what we did with Henry. And
Yeah,
now I'm the guy sitting here. And when I'm getting hammered at work with all the other stuff, we were just caught out and I'm doing all kinds of other. They're grooming me for controller in Texas now. So you give me the stuff for Matt and I'll throw a budget together. Give me the salary, I'll drop the numbers in and that'll be it.
okay.
No, I'm serious, we need the head count then.
Well, are you gonna be in tomorrow and talk to Matt?
No, I can't be in tomorrow because it's second day of the close, but I can get on the phone with.
Okay,
I don't have any of the old records that, but there used to be a salary schedule, that's why I'm. You used to come out with a, you know.
right, I know,
budgets.
I've been looking for it, I've asked Sharon and Ellen or Wendy.
I'll go through another section and see if I have something at home, but I don't.
I know, all I had was the stuff that we had from the past, I don't know where it's.
Let me, and I can talk with him in the morning and we'll get something, lay out the schedule.
Okay.
And lay out the format that he can drop the numbers in.
Then we'll go from there and schedule another meeting, so then you can adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
second,
Okay, motion adjourned, second. Time we adjourn is 10:27.
Call
Mike?
Yeah.
Roll call.
Yes.
Mike? George?
George.
John, yes.